You're standing in your kitchen, heart pounding, palms sweaty, staring into the eyes of the person you thought you'd spend your life with. They lean against the counter, casual as ever, and say, "I feel trapped. I'm going to explore my options." While we're still together, your stomach drops. Your world tilts. But then something inside you snaps. You smile, nod, and say, "That's fair." And in that moment, you decide, if they get to play dirty, so do you. And oh, the look on his face when he realized I wasn't just playing his game. I was winning it. Priceless. This is the story of how I turned betrayal into the sweetest, most satisfying revenge. Buckle up, because you're not ready for this one. If you've ever been betrayed, underestimated, or made to feel like you're not enough, this story is for you. Hit that like button, smash subscribe, and let's dive into one of the most jaw-dropping Reddit revenge tales you'll ever hear. Trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for this meltdown. Let's rewind to where it all began. My name's Emma, not my real name, but we'll go with it for this story. I was 28, living in a cozy little apartment in Seattle, the kind with exposed brick walls and creaky hardwood floors that smelled faintly of cedar. My life wasn't perfect, but it felt full. I had a decent job as a graphic designer, a tight group of friends, and him, Jake. Jake was the kind of guy who could light up a room. 6'2", with messy dark hair and a smile that made your knees weak. We met at a coffee shop 3 years earlier, when he spilled his latte on my sketchbook and spent the next hour apologizing with bad jokes and a free replacement coffee. It was love at first laugh. He was charming, ambitious, a software engineer with big dreams of starting his own tech company. We moved in together after a year, built a life around lazy Sunday mornings, late-night tacos, and whispered promises of forever. But love, as I learned, can blind you to cracks forming beneath the surface. Jake had this way of making me feel like I was his whole world, until I wasn't. It started small. He'd stay late at work, claiming big projects needed his attention. His phone started buzzing more often, and he'd tilt the screen away when I glanced over. I'd catch him staring out the window, lost in thought, his jaw tight. When I asked what was wrong, he'd brush it off with a forced smile. "Just work stress, Em, don't worry." But I did worry. My gut screamed that something was off, but I loved him too much to push. I told myself it was just a phase. Every couple goes through rough patches, right? I clung to the memories of us laughing over burnt pancakes, dancing in the living room to old jazz records. I wasn't ready to let go of the man who'd once looked at me like I was his everything. It was a Tuesday night in October, the kind of chilly evening where you crave hot cocoa and a warm blanket. I was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner, when Jake came home. His footsteps were heavier than usual, his face drawn. He dropped his bag by the door and leaned against the counter, avoiding my eyes. "Em, we need to talk," he said, his voice flat. My heart sank. Those 4 words never mean anything good. I set the knife down, my hands trembling, and turned to face him. "What's up?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He took a deep breath, ran a hand through his hair, and looked at me, not with love, but with something colder. "I feel trapped," he said. It's not working for me anymore. I need space to figure out what I want. I'm going to explore my options. While we're still together, I swear." In that moment, the world stopped. My chest tightened, like someone had sucked all the air out of the room. Trapped. After 3 years of building a life together, of me supporting his dreams, cooking his favorite meals, staying up late to help him debug code for his stupid startup ideas, he felt trapped. And not only that, he wanted to explore his options while keeping me on a leash, like I was some backup plan he could fall back on if his adventures didn't pan out. The betrayal hit me like a punch to the gut. My throat burned, my vision blurred with unshed tears. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I felt this eerie calm settle over me. I looked into his eyes, saw the arrogance there, the assumption that I'd just take it, that I'd beg him to stay. "That's fair," I said, my voice steady, almost sweet. His eyebrows shot up, like he'd expected me to fall apart. "You're okay with that?" he asked, clearly thrown. I smiled, a slow, deliberate smile. "Yeah, Jake, if you need to explore, go for it. I just want you to be happy." Inside, I was screaming. My heart was a war zone. Rage, hurt, humiliation, all battling for dominance. But I'd be damned if I let him see me break. In that moment, standing in our kitchen with the smell of garlic and onions lingering in the air, I made a decision. If Jake thought he could play games with my heart, I'd show him I could play better. Over the next few weeks, Jake leaned into his so-called exploration. He'd come home late, reeking of cologne I didn't recognize. He'd leave his phone face down, Notifications silenced. Once I caught a glimpse of a flirty text from someone named Lila before he snatched the phone away. He'd smirk when he thought I wasn't looking, like he was getting away with something. And me? I played the part of the oblivious girlfriend. I cooked dinner, asked about his day, even laughed at his dumb jokes. But every night, as he slept beside me, I lay awake, my mind racing. The betrayal wasn't just that he wanted other people. It was the disrespect. The way he assumed I'd sit there, waiting, while he treated our relationship like a test drive he could return if he didn't like the new model. I started noticing things I'd ignored before. Jake's friends, his bro-y, tech startup crowd, had always been flirty with me, but I'd brushed it off as harmless. Now I saw it differently. At a bar one night, his coworker Ryan lingered a little too long when he hugged me goodbye, his hand brushing my lower back. Another friend, Matt, had been liking my Instagram posts for months, leaving comments like, "Looking M." Jake never batted an eye. He was too busy exploring to notice. That's when the idea hit me. Jake wanted to play the field? Fine, I'd play too. But I wasn't going to sneak around with strangers. I was going to hit him where it hurt. His ego, his social circle, his carefully curated image as the cool guy everyone admired. One night, after Jake left for another late meeting, yeah, right, I sat on our couch, a glass of red wine in hand, staring at the city lights through our window. My reflection stared back at me, pale, tired, but with a spark of something new, determination. I wasn't the naive girl who'd fallen for Jake's charm 3 years ago. I was done being his safety net. I opened my phone and scrolled through my DMs. Ryan had messaged me a week ago, asking if I wanted to grab coffee just to catch up. Matt had liked my latest post, a selfie in a red dress that hugged my curves. Even Jake's boss, Ethan, had once told me at a company party, "You're way too good for Jake, you know that, right?" With a wink that felt more serious than playful. I wasn't going to sleep with anyone. That wasn't my style, but I could flirt. I could make Jake's friends and coworkers see me, not as Jake's girlfriend, but as Emma, the woman they'd been eyeing all along. I could make Jake feel what it's like to be replaced, to be irrelevant. I replied to Ryan's DM, "Coffee sounds great. How's tomorrow?" My heart raced as I hit send. This wasn't just revenge, it was reclaiming my power. Jake thought he could have his cake and eat it too. I'd bake a whole damn bakery and serve it to his friends. The next few weeks were a masterclass in subtle chaos. I started small. Coffee with Ryan turned into a 2-hour conversation at a trendy cafe downtown, where I laughed a little too loudly at his jokes and let my hand brush his when I reached for my latte. He blushed, stammered, and asked if I wanted to hang out again. "Sure," I said, smiling. "Just don't tell Jake. He's exploring his options right now." Ryan's eyes widened, but he nodded, a grin spreading across his face. Word spread fast. Matt texted me the next day, asking if I wanted to join him and some friends for drinks. I showed up in that red dress, my hair loose, my confidence dialed to 11. The bar was packed, the air thick with the smell of craft beer and fried food. Matt couldn't take his eyes off me. Neither could half the table, most of whom worked with Jake. I played it perfectly. I was charming, witty, just flirty enough to keep them hooked without crossing any lines. I'd lean in close to whisper something to Matt, letting my breath tickle his ear. I'd laugh at Ryan's stories, tossing my hair back, knowing every guy at the table was watching, and I made sure they knew Jake was exploring. "Oh, you didn't hear?" I'd say, all innocence. He's keeping his options open. So I figured, why shouldn't I? The best part? Jake had no idea. He'd come home, oblivious, talking about his big projects while I smiled and nodded, my phone buzzing with texts from his friends. I could feel the power shifting. For the first time in months, I wasn't the one waiting for him to decide my worth. I was calling the shots, but I wasn't done. I wanted Jake to see it. I wanted him to feel the sting of his own medicine. So I planned the final act. It was a Friday night, and Jake's company was hosting a happy hour at a rooftop bar downtown. I knew he'd be there, probably flirting with Lila or whoever else he was exploring with. I also knew Ryan, Matt, and Ethan would be there. Perfect. I spent hours getting ready. Black dress, low neckline, heels that clicked with every step. My reflection in the mirror looked like a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. I felt electric, unstoppable. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with anticipation. Tonight, Jake would learn what it felt like to be the one left out. Texted Ryan, "See you at the happy hour. Save me a seat." Then I texted Matt, "You going to the rooftop thing? Let's grab a drink." I didn't tell them about each other. Let them think they each had a shot. The chaos would be my masterpiece. The rooftop bar was alive with lights and laughter, the Seattle skyline glittering in the background. The air smelled of expensive cocktails and perfume. I walked in, head high, feeling every eye on me. Ryan spotted me first, waving me over to a corner table where he and a few others were sitting. Matt was at the bar, ordering drinks, but he froze when he saw me, his jaw dropping. Ethan, Jake's boss, gave me a slow, appreciative nod from across the room, and Jake, he was there in the middle of it all, laughing with a woman I assumed was Lila. She was pretty, I'll give her that. Blonde, confident, her hand resting on his arm. My stomach twisted, but I pushed it down. This wasn't about her. This was about him. I made my rounds, deliberate and calculated. I hugged Ryan a little too long, letting my hand linger on his shoulder. I joined Matt at the bar, laughing as he stumbled over his words, clearly smitten. I even chatted with Ethan, who didn't bother hiding his interest, saying, "You clean up nice, Emma. Jake's a lucky guy. Or maybe not so lucky," Jake noticed. I could feel his eyes on me, burning with confusion, then suspicion. I didn't look at him. I didn't need to. I was the center of attention, and he was on the outside looking in. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Ryan, emboldened by a few drinks, slung an arm around my shoulders, pulling me close as he told a story. Matt, not to be outdone, slid into the seat on my other side, his knee brushing mine. The table was a bubble of laughter and tension, and I was the spark at the center. Jake stormed over, his face red, his fists clenched. "Emma, what the hell is this?" he snapped, his voice loud enough to turn heads. I turned slowly, meeting his eyes with a calm, almost pitying smile. "What's what, Jake?" "I'm just exploring my options." I gestured to Ryan and Matt, who looked like deer caught in headlights, but didn't. "Move away!" The air crackled with tension. Jake's jaw worked, his eyes darting between me and his friends. "You're making a scene," he hissed. "Am I?" I said, my voice dripping with mock innocence. "I thought this was what you wanted. Freedom. Options. I'm just following your lead." Table went silent. Ryan shifted uncomfortably, but I could see the smirk tugging at his lips. Matt stared at his drink, but his shoulders shook with suppressed laughter. Ethan, watching from a few feet away, raised his glass to me, his eyes gleaming with amusement. Jake's face crumpled. Anger, humiliation, betrayal, it was all there, written in the flush of his cheeks, the tremble of his hands. "You're unbelievable," he spat, but his voice cracked, betraying his hurt. I leaned forward, my voice low but sharp enough to cut. "No, Jake, you're unbelievable. You thought you could have it all. Me, her, whoever else, while I just waited around. Well, guess what? I don't wait. Not anymore." He stood there, frozen, as the reality sank in. His friends, his coworkers, his world, they weren't his anymore. They were looking at me, and for the first time, Jake wasn't the one in control. I stood, brushing past him, my head high. "Have fun exploring," I said over my shoulder. "I know I will." The bar erupted in whispers as I walked away, my heels clicking against the floor, my heart soaring. I didn't need to look back to know Jake was crumbling. I could feel it, the sweet electric rush of justice. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about reclaiming yourself. That night, I didn't just get even. I got free. Jake thought he could break me, but all he did was show me how strong I really am. Karma? Yeah, it's real. And it hits hardest when you least expect it. If that story gave you chills, or maybe a little fist pump of satisfaction, smash that like button and let me know in the comments. What's the most epic revenge you've ever witnessed? Or maybe you've got a story of your own. Spill the tea. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a tale of sweet, sweet justice. Until next time, stay fierce.